You were just talking about maybe you should report it. Okay.
Yes. So
yeah, good.
We are just talking about how to get our project proposal to the finish line. Because a few hours tomorrow will be taken by creating a pitch video.
Right.
It's a short video, but I'm pretty sure it's going to take some time to create it, to write the text and everything. Hi, Michael. So what Massimo suggested is that we need to describe the prototype design.
Yeah.
So we need to describe the agents and the processes. On my side, what I'm missing is a bit of numbers and figures about what is the importance of what we're trying to achieve. So well, the problem is more or less clear, but it would be nice to have some numbers of how many people are being in trouble right now, or something, very actual. And we're trying to figure out what are the steps that we can take as a team to finish this thing.
I know. I mean,
preferably by tomorrow, 12 in the afternoon.
And it has come. On a weekend that I'm like completely swamped. Unfortunately, which is why I was trying to figure out, hey, you know what? How can I help? Because I've been literally chock-a-block working on my own stuff. So that puts me in a very sort of precarious position.
If you can, from the knowledge of your, from your experience, maybe if you can share, and that goes to everyone, what would be the best strategy on how to finalize it by tomorrow, 12 o'clock in the afternoon? Because what we've done so far is we've collected the input from the teammates. We've got a number of mentors who have commented on the document, and also one mentor that actually got on the phone with us to share his input. I've collected some of the numbers from UN and OECD about what's happening right now. I'm still in the process. And Massimo has prepared this visual with different building blocks.
Yeah.
So, and plus, I think Michael has been doing research about what's out there as an alternative to what we're trying to propose. And there's not really an alternative besides the WeWork freelance platforms.
Yeah.
And the comment from our team mentor has been that we should scope down. And we have not been capable to do that yet. Massimo says we should focus on self-employed. I'm not so sure that it's the most troubled group, but okay, well.
Yeah.
So if somebody can recommend steps on how to bring it to finalization.
Yeah. So I think purely from a scoping perspective, are we saying a particular jurisdiction or a country or whatever? For let's say by tomorrow midday, I think what we need to do is literally think of the solution. I wouldn't even say design, but ideation. This is loosely what we are thinking of as a solution, potential solution. And here are the countries where we feel comfortable. It could be Netherlands, Italy, some of the countries where we have presence, okay, in the European Union. So that's something that we should be looking at. Purely from the other thing that we should mention in our scope is we will need a platform's help, okay? We can curate the input of jobs, and we can kind of try and curate the some frame for the what should I say? The people who are looking for the jobs, but we will need a help of a platform to be able to. I think that's something that we should mention. Okay, so that from a next step perspective, I think we just have to build on these and create a paragraph or create a page. I wouldn't necessarily at this point in time. I wouldn't necessarily go on a chase of how many. If somebody can quickly give me the numbers, fine, but I'm not going to spend time on doing a research work. if we don't have the let's say bandwidth or the muscle power to make that happen. The other thing I would like to highlight would be the thought came to my mind, and I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I think the video is going to be extremely important. But what was I thinking? It'll come to me. See, this is what happens when you juggle around with. Maybe I should get some coaching from Massimo. Yeah, he seems to be juggling around, or maybe it's the hand movement.
Don't believe everything how it looks like. The reality can be much worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now I remember. So so on one side you have the people. What we're saying is the people who are going to get suffers. Who will be suffering. Here is my point. Okay. People who are already in the marginalized, let's say, economic situation. Okay. So there is something which is, there's a group, let's call them marginalized. So these people were already in not a high, let's say a low income group or whatever, right? So that's the marginalized, okay? I think the biggest risk are people who have been kind of self-employed freelance, but all of a sudden there is no work. And many of them may be living out of credit cards or whatever, and thinking, hey, I have another 2 months or a year or whatever, and if I can maintain this work, I'll be able to pay off my debt. Okay, and I think we should be focusing on that group, saying this is highly capable, and yet there is not enough work in the market for these sort of people. Because these are the people, for example, let's say people who are poor, and I'm not discounting of the impact the poor people face, but people like you and me, I mean, if, many of us don't have treasure troves or a big bank balance, and, we have, let's say, fuel that will sustain us for the next 2 months, maybe 3, but nobody has endless pit. And if the crisis goes on, then very soon we may be at the mercy of let's say of the state, or so it could be from a scoping perspective, it could be the profile that we want to focus on. Yeah, you're saying something, but we can't hear you, Massimo.
It is self-employed, especially freelancers.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been quiet, but I've been noting a lot of things that you say, Nirvan, so that we can already start sort of narrowing down.
Yeah. So I would essentially say self-employed or little businesses. I mean, just to give you an example, this lady, she has 2 children. She's a designer, right? So she was helping this events company to design brochures and all that stuff, right? Now the design company is a bigger company, okay, and may be able to not the design. The events company is a bigger company, and maybe they will be able to survive this crisis. But this lady who's got 2 children, how will she survive? Okay, because she's not going to get any benefit from the company, as in because she was a freelancer. So it is those people who do not have necessarily the policies or the current guidelines that favor them, or that would do something for them in the current structure of the government or of the municipality or whatever. It is them falling through the cracks.
Yeah.
Because in the past, nobody thought about them. So they're not necessarily eligible for dole, or the unemployment benefit, because there's self-employed or small businesses, entrepreneurs. but at the same time, they're not rich, that they'll be able to overcome this. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And that is probably the vast majority of freelancing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so basically, that's excellent. That's really an excellent contribution. I've taken practically word by word everything you said. I think we have been sort of talking around it quite a lot with Massimo and also in different chats with everyone. But we were not capable to just narrow it down in such crisp words. And I think your story about that lady might even make it to the movie. We need to pitch it. That can be a very nice case study, indeed. And like how you said, people falling through the cracks. Yeah, because if we then find the numbers, so that's something I could do. Find the numbers of the amount of freelancers as a database. Actually, I published them in one article that's coming out soon. So that shouldn't be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I heard like from AkzoNobel, that a majority of the people who used to sit on the 8th floor, freelancers and consultants, they're all gone.
Yeah, and that you're talking about 40% of the labor force.
Yeah, exactly. And these are the people. I used to find it. Kind of not fair from the system's perspective, that the full-timers would get off during Christmas and they could take time off, vacation off, etc. But for freelancers, it would be compulsory no pay. And it's like, okay, but for what fault? We could still continue doing the work.
No.
So, yeah.
No. It's a good way to save some money.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of scope, just to keep us on the straight line.
Yeah.
In terms of scope for this specific use case, so if you choose one use case, we say basically that the government has to find a way to outsource small jobs to freelancers, just like the company do.
Yeah.
So, and maybe they have to use the same platforms that the companies use, like Upwork, freelance.nl, and all sorts of other things. But they have to learn how to craft their assignments, and somebody has to be assigned to outsource specifically to that group.
Right.
Because I'm sure they have a lot of designing work as well. I mean, it's the government. They also disseminate their information and promote.
Correct.
And copywriters who are all sitting at home right now, who are usually writing for small business, and now small business doesn't need any copywriter.
Basically, all they have to do is that inside of the big institutions, they change the way they do sourcing. That they allow, and the government has to support that. That is allowed to have small ZZPs.
Yeah.
And in that way, it would be very, very simple, as a contingency situation. Because normally, like in the Netherlands, there is this law that the ZZP, if 80% of the income of that person during the year comes from a single company, during 2 consecutive years, then the government might be interested in investigating if there is a case that the company is taking advantage of the ZZP.
Sure. But
I mean, in case of contingency, I think it can be settled in a different way.
Yeah. And also, the thing is, the point that you just mentioned, see, all the large companies have figured that one out. That's 2 years thing, about 80%, right? So which is why they will make a compulsory break in your contract and say, we can't hire you for the next 3 months, because they have all the smart lawyers, right? But it's the small and the mid-sized businesses, there's no point in going and suing them at this stage, because they themselves are struggling, right? But I think more importantly, what is going to be important is the people who come in this scope, right? Because the government is not necessarily going to give them cash, but they're going to give them in terms of supermarket coupons or whatever. Is something that will ensure that only a certain group or kind of people come in, people who are extremely desperate, okay? At the same time, and that's what we are trying to serve, because if the moment you put in cash element, if the cash element is full amount in cash, you will see other people coming in. But if it's just coupons, majority of it is just coupons and some cash, that I think is going to be a deterrent for others, but it is going to be an attraction for somebody who's got nothing.
Maybe it could be a special accounts, like for example in the Albertine app, and they get the goods delivered with a specific account they get.
Yeah, it could be something. Yeah, it could be something like that, because because only then would we not have we need to probably think of some criteria by which we qualify the people who will be who can participate in this program, because we want to make sure that it's actually the needy and not the and not everybody. Yeah.
Well, it's very simple. It's somebody who does not have a reasonable source of income that allows that person to live for the next 3 months, for example.
Yeah, exactly. They can't pay the
and
rent,
does not have savings.
Yeah.
If they're self-employed and it's already the end of the first quarter, they have all submitted their BETAVE report. On the basis of BETAVE report, you can tell if people are making money or not.
Yeah.
More or less. Yeah. Or maybe the first quarter is a bit, maybe,
exactly.
Maybe not. Because the first quarter was okay, January, February, things still happened. It was the March that's really kind of fell through.
Yeah.
But okay, so go ahead.
I mean, for example, I think it was, where was this? In the US somewhere, that they said they're going to give kind of a blank check of $1,200 per household or something to certain groups of people, And what we're saying is we will try and do something like that in form of a job or in form of an activity that you work towards and get paid, rather than giving,
And the reason is because these activities are to help actually the authorities, the institutions, and the governments in coping with the speed of the problem.
Right.
If you look at the Netherlands, for example, as a country for case study, because I think if we narrow it down to self-employed, then maybe it would be easier if we just say, let's start from one country to do the
program. Pilot. Yeah, Netherlands is a perfect example, because
exactly, because Netherlands is very much advanced in a lot of things, that like the public-private partnerships, the digital technologies, so it all can be very easily integrated. And plus they were already quite high on freelancers, and they were already quite high on remote workers. They're like one of the two high countries in European Union. I just saw the statistics. Okay, so if we focus on the Netherlands,
and we focus on skilled workforce who do not have work. And when skilled workforce, it's solopreneurs, ZZ payers, small business owners.
Yes, because these are already capable and have already the technical resources as to easily get to do something that can be online, assuming that the majority of these mini tasks would be online, because there could be also tasks that do not necessarily happen online. For example, I was looking at Upwork, and there is a diagram of how to make a corporate video. And in how to make a corporate video, each step is a different person. They can actually work independently. So I was actually looking for that diagram right now, because I want to include it as an example.
It will be good. Yes, please edit. The reason why I mentioned Netherlands now, I remember, because also now so much tension that the thoughts finally start to fall out of the head. There is a program that applies to Dutch citizens that offers €1,500 per month for 3 consecutive months. but there is some long list of criteria that people have to fit.
Correct.
And that is quite challenging. Plus, for me, as not a Dutch citizen, well, I don't qualify.
Right.
But
yeah.
I am residing here, and I am a business owner, and I am not making money. So, hooray!
Correct. No, and you're absolutely right, Julia. Unfortunately, the challenge is that many of these benefits have been put in place to dissuade people from taking those benefits. If you give me a list of 100 criteria that I need to qualify, simple thing. For example, if I'm not making any money, or if I'm making money below a certain, let's say, certain threshold, or certain, what should I say, a certain amount in a month, the government should say, hey, you know what? For the next 3 months, you don't pay any rent, you don't pay any mortgage or whatever, anything that you owe the, let's say, government or the banks or whatever, we're going to subsidize that for you, as a start. I have not seen, or rather, I've seen just a handful, which are also tied with so many conditions that it's, only certain select people will be able to take advantage, and maybe non-citizens are not even allowed to participate. So, yeah. But I think that's where the humanitarian ground for our project comes in. And otherwise it's going to be a disaster. I mean, at the end of the day, if we don't have enough money, where will people get money from? They'll have to figure out a way that will create a social unrest.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the report that United Nations published with the impact of the coronavirus, it also said that direct support to enterprises, particularly SMEs, is urgent. The governments have to provide assistance. There's a bunch of things that they say it should be done, because the SMEs are taking a huge hit.
Yeah. So yeah.
But they don't give numbers, unfortunately. It would have been, it would have been. I know why they do say. The expansion of the gig economy since 2008 increased the vulnerabilities of self-employed people and the youth.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think that's what, from a scoping perspective, I think that's the one that we want to focus on, and and they would be, people who. So we'll have a qualifying criteria. We'll keep it quite simple for people who will be able to qualify to be able to take one of those jobs or work or tasks. I think we should be able to fairly, squarely get that qualification done. And only those people are allowed to take up those jobs. As simple as that. So government has to. So it's almost like you're creating a reservation of jobs or tasks for a certain kind of group of people, and there is going to be quite a simple criteria, in order to get this thing done. Yeah,
it would be. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I was wondering if we thought about the number of people we could impact with this, like how many jobs we could really, or government could really provide or create, and how many people would really profit from it. Because these kind of jobs very often, especially in public service, are done by students and by very low, like, internships. Yeah, most of them are done for free as a volunteering. So I wonder if we are coming in conflict as well with that part.
Yeah. So, Michael, I think that's an excellent point. So, my reflection on that would be that the government cannot cannot take, let's say, it's like you rob Paul to pay Harry, or you rob Harry to pay Paul. You can't do that. So that's where the government needs to think of ways by which this does not impact one group because they're trying to have or impact the others. The question would come in is government would then need to look at some of the areas where they have a backlog, right? Where by engaging this workforce, they can reduce that backlog. Because one of the examples of a backlog is very crude sort of backlog example, but where people are dying, they're not being able to get their bodies out because there's a backlog from the hospitals. So and a large part of the reason is the healthcare workers are busy in what they do, but the administrative side of the work is not necessarily being done at the same speed because there are not enough people. So,
So if I can rephrase that, so what I hear is that the COVID has created quite a lot of extra jobs for public services, for governmental services.
Yeah.
And in these conditions, they're not hiring anyone to do that extra work.
Yeah.
It's the existing employees that take it on top of their daily job.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why you see that the numbers are becoming constant every day. That is basically the capacity that they have to input the data on the reports.
Correct. Yeah.
The numbers we see are not real. It's way behind, I think.
Massima's theory is that they've been logging them back sort of retrospectively. So they're not logging them every day to how many cases come in, but they log them to how the capacity to log them.
Yeah, it's actually written in the disclaimer of the report.
Yeah.
So not all of the reported hospital admission or deaths occurred within the last 24 hours. So some patients are reported later.
Correct.
But basically, we keep having new cases, about 1,000 cases per day, about 100 and something disease, and about 150 new patients admitted in hospital. But that is basically the capacity that they have to process the information and input.
I mean, just to give you an example with Netherlands and Germany, right? Germany is aggressively doing testing of people, okay? Netherlands, on the other hand, is saying, unless your condition is serious, don't even bother to call the GP. If you have a common, So whatever number you see in Netherlands is essentially the ones who are serious, okay? Which is why percentage-wise, the death rate is much higher in Netherlands. But in reality, Netherlands is simply saying, hey, we don't want to spend money and effort in trying to correct the numbers because, because of whatever. So and that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying, yeah. So again, coming back to the point, which is essentially what I'm saying is wherever government is facing bottleneck or a choke is a perfect area where this skilled workforce can step in and pretty much start doing it, straight away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So now that we have, and thank you very much for this conversation, for this input, because I think we've been doing the divergence from last night to this night, so that's over 24 hours with quite a big group of people, which is amazing to see. The speed of interaction was the highest ever, so that's really, really cool. At the same time, it's nice to see that it's coming together, so in a convergent way right now. It's nice that we can summarize it together, so thank you very much, Anirvan. And what do we think as a team could be sort of the steps 1, 2, 3 that that we can just, go to completion of the project as it is,
You mean
of the
till
prototype.
1, 2, 3 between now and 12 o'clock tomorrow?
Yeah, because anyway, we'll continue working on our own, whoever can and however they can.
Yeah,
At the end,
I think step number 1 is somebody to own that final document. Okay.
I think I will be owning that final document.
Right. Yeah. So what you now need to do is step number 2 or whatever step is you need to think of what are the minimum things that you need for the document. Okay.
Yeah. So I have the 6 points that we are requested to submit. The 6 titles.
My idea would be, I don't know what the time is right now. My suggestion would be try and wrap up what is the minimum product that you need to send by the end of the day today, whether it's midnight or whatever it is. Okay.
So you mean to already, whatever we have to already source from there, whatever can be sent already tonight.
Correct.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. And then come back tomorrow morning, because what happens is it's like you let it simmer, let it season, then come back tomorrow morning and see what else can be added within that reasonable period of time.
Okay, that's very sober approach. Very, very, very useful. I think I was doubting you, but that's
And targets to submit at 11. Because if the 12 is a deadline and it's an online submission.
The deadline actually is at 5 p.m. I think, maybe even 9 p.m. But we will need time to make the movie, and the movie needs a script, and we need to then design the movie. So it's a 2-minute thing, but usually it takes 4 or 5 hours just to do the thing.
Sure. Yeah. I understand.
Arguably.
So the paper submission, so whatever we need to write, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it has to be done by 11 or 12 tomorrow. Otherwise, we cannot proceed to do the final pitch.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Good. And also don't forget the old divide and conquer.
Yes, that would be nice.
We could maybe have someone already thinking about what goes for the final pitch or final movie, for example. While others of us are working, for example, on the prototype. I think I would be more on that side. So in between the many, we get to something that makes sense. Because the video, we can also put images during the video.
Yeah.
Well,
so what software are you using for video?
I honestly don't know, because I used to have an Apple computer where I used the iMovie. Now I have a Google Chrome computer, which has no software for that whatsoever besides YouTube, and an iPad, which I don't think I can manage to make videos there.
Well,
so,
iPad has the iMovie.
Yeah. But it might be difficult.
How is actually YouTube?
Can you? Anirvan, you want to say something?
Yeah. Anybody from our network who's got an iPad?
Well, iPad, yeah.
No, not iPad. Apple Mac, yeah.
Probably we have some people, possibly.
Yeah. So I think your idea about creating a movie on iMovie is the right one. Unless you have something like a Powtoon, or I used to have a license, but my license expired, so and costs I think about $150 or $200 or something. But anyways. So use somebody's laptop, share it over Zoom, and and gets the iMovie done on a Mac.
Well, yeah, maybe I will source it on our WhatsApp chat. I will ask, who's keen on making movies, because normally I would be the first one to do that, because I used to really enjoy just kind of crafting the story. And but maybe we can, since we're all here, we can just give a couple of thoughts on what we think would make a powerful movie. Obviously, Michael shared with us what they require. Let me just
let me share my storyboard.
Yes.
And then so my storyboard is essentially it should start from, let's say, 2 or 3 sort of setups. So here you show a very happy guy in corporate or a happy lady in a corporate dress as a starting point, preferably in some sort of a conference room, having a discussion, and then show the same person in a family setting, having a glass of wine or, having fun with their kids, etc., etc. Okay. So that's your start point, so that's one, let's say, profile. Okay. Similarly, a second profile would be somebody who's a good designer, making lots of good things, good stuff. So essentially have, let's say, 3 characters and kind of give 2 or 3 slides for them, like in a couple of seconds iteration, and then bim, with a bang, you get the COVID that's with tentacles comes in, and all of a sudden, and then the next thing is you could see money vaporize or something, dollars or euros just vaporizing, and that could be a starting point. And then you show desperate people, you could show some, street people, people who live in the streets, or begging or whatever, and long queues, standing outside, and that is where you create the impact. And then you come in with the EU thingy, and then your solution pitch.
That is a great that is a great build up. I like it very much. I am just trying to be very realistic about what we can do, and how much people would volunteer to actually make a movie. I have like the 60% confidence that it will be difficult to find.
Yeah. No, I mean, you just have to take photos, it's not real life. You just take photos,
Okay.
Yeah. So, so you can get photos from Pixabay. You can just get some photos and, create that storyboarding, because you said it's 2 minutes, right?
Yes, and it's 2 minutes, and we need to describe the problem, the solution, what we accomplished, and what we're planning to do next.
Yeah. So the problem essentially is, the problem essentially is people, skilled people living a good life, is the start when all of a sudden Corona hits, and then there's no money, and that's why, being out on the streets, standing in queues, not having money, etc. Foreclosures and house being taken, etc. And I think if you did, what was it? The 2007 sort of problem, you should be able to get a lot of those images already.
Okay.
This 2007 crisis, yeah. And then, so just concentrate on photos. Don't think about live videos. Just think about photos. Put one after the other with some message, and you should be okay.
Okay, well that's a good start to thinking
so
about
what we can do is maybe around 12ish or 1 o'clock, I'll try and log back in again and help you with the photo selection and kind of the storyboard, and then we can create, we need somebody to select the music on because you need to have a background score.
Wow, I was just thinking that somebody would stand in front of the camera and do the pitch. and here, yeah.
No, I was probably in between a mix of the different things. Although, okay, it's nice to have a build-up, of course, because the first thing is to picture what is the opportunity, or meaning what is the problem in this case trying to solve. mixing for one side the emotional side, yes, of course, about the situation. From the other side, it's also good to give some specific numbers, some specific information, which is what we were talking about a moment ago, right? To get a bit better a sizing of the problem. Also explaining why is the scope that we chose, the reason why. So there is a rationale. That can be without adding too much time to the entry. The entry anyway should not be more than, I think, more than 15 seconds. So 15, 20 seconds maximum. Because otherwise you become anyway the repetition of the news. And then of course it goes into what is the main proposal about. And then explain the logic behind the proposal, which is of course the two areas of opportunity that we were talking about, the two areas of opportunities that were on one side the deficiency or the lack of capacity from institutions and public services, and from the other side, the availability of skilled professionals and freelancers that at this moment have time in their hands.
Yeah.
So that explains. So that's basically like the second point, right? And from there we continue, because then where is the other point? Wait.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you guys can if you just can create that framework and can do that flow, maybe in early afternoon tomorrow, I can spend about an hour or something trying to put together in some form of a PowerPoint deck that we can easily create a video of. I will also have Camtasia with me that I can add some sort of animation to create that video, which is just based on PowerPoint. Yeah, and as a backup, we can always have somebody stand in front of the camera and just read out what the solution is.
If we have the audio, if we have the audio, what we want to say, then we can build everything around the audio.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was also thinking that maybe what sometimes is really powerful, but maybe that's just an extra thing, is when real people say, like we are now 5 on screen, and when real people get on screen and they say like, I haven't had any gig for like 2 months, I haven't had a gig for 3 months, blah 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 blah.
We can also use something like that, actually.
Canceled.
Yeah, sure.
So and that can even be done by the virtue of the Zoom call, even. You just get people to call in and say, I haven't had a job in a while.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the reality. I mean, the thing is, we have Roundtable Insights. We couldn't do any physical event after February. And that's why we needed to do the online bit. From advisory work, because people don't want to think about anything new, so those dry up, and that's very common. I'm sure if each one of us narrate a story or narrate our current scenarios, I'm sure the actual reality is going to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, so that's one of the options, that we just have the real people and we each just tell a story. Now we still have to be realistic about the 2 minutes. So anyway, it all is going to come out from the submission, the paper submission that we're going to write. So I think, Anirvan, you already noticed that I should prepare it by the end of the day today, so that at least tomorrow morning we can finalize the wording or whatever. And then we can move on to already thinking. But it's good to have these 2 options of the movie, because I wrote down the storyboard for both.
Yeah.
And then eventually we'll find some sort of
middle ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that everyone is so excited to help, and that you're proposing to do the PowerPoint animation, and that people have time. It's really nice. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
things
yes.
to do.
Yes. So what's the time like now? I need to.
It's 8 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Things to do.
Yeah.
So I will take a deeper dive.
Yes. Massimo to write out the design of the prototype. Right?
Is there anything else that you guys wanted to discuss? Because I need to sort of jump off to another stuff. Yeah.
I think we got everything we wanted from you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
I wish I could have done more, but it's.
No, you helped.
Okay.
You helped very much. But jumping in and jumping out is helpful very much.
All right. Okay. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So, Massimo.
Oh.
Are you ready to write out the prototype, the design of the prototype? So agents and processes.
Well,
we also have the process flow. We also have the process flow from Laxman. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, the process flow is for the actual information system. The process flow.
Okay, but it's still very valuable.
Because it's for the work orders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the flow of the work orders. That is a part of it. It goes inside of the ordering system.
So, do you think you can prepare the description of the prototype? So how it's going to work?
Yeah, I can prepare it based on the photo that I uploaded precisely, and based on that, I can just create the description of the building blocks. Probably it will not anymore be a photo there, but will be a diagram. Maybe yes, maybe it will be just a description in text. Likely to be a description in text.
Okay.
Because then can be used anywhere, can be used in slides, can be used anywhere.
So I think I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna put together from everything, all the contributions we've got from the document. At the end of the document, I'll start making a new proper text that we can submit, and then that can be reviewed tomorrow. Michael, I know you've been working on our, competitors and, well, not competitors, alternatives, and you found some interesting stuff.
I don't know how much it is relatable, because it can be like, it's like they pay for opinions, they pay for testing.
For the survey participation, but it's also interesting. I mean, that's worth knowing that is one option. Although right now we need somebody to take the results of the survey rather than filling them in. So if you see something for yourself to do in the document, or collecting some data or something, let me know. Otherwise, get back again to the document tomorrow morning and see what has become from the, what you're going to submit, and maybe leave your comments there.
Okay.
And I think Carlos is very busy tonight with, with maybe
thank you very much.
I hope not. I hope not that much. But yeah, no, I was listening to everything. I think we are doing, we are going the right way. So right now I was reviewing the document as well. I was reviewing the document. I was seeing this Maximo's image. I like it very much. So no, I keep going reviewing the documents. If I have any ideas, I will put it there.
Okay, so I saw your comments there, and I think they're very valuable. And I also invite you. It's probably going to be, well, by the end of the day for us today, it's probably going to be like afternoonish for you. I invite you to go through what I'm going to put together as a submission. It's going to be at the very end. I'll send you a text to notify that it's done. And maybe you can go through that again and leave some comments if you think there still needs to be changes.
Okay.
Oh, is that a good idea? I think it's.
Yeah, I guess so. No, but there are also some in the comments that if you can please check up and then we leave there each other the messages, and so we can compensate for the difference of timing.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, because that's and it's nice that some things can be written with the correct language, related to when we speak about economical terms, that is then using the right thing, because that is one of the problems we have, is that we wrote
Okay,
it.
Maximo, I'll review I reviewed that. The how do you manage, data and economics concepts or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So on that, I think thank you very much for your time, and then I'll get to work.
All right.
I'll get to finishing the submission. And let's see what's going to come out of it. Any ideas? Just contribute. I'm going to be here. So, and thank you very much, Carlos, for joining. Thank you very much, Massimo.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Until next time.
Okay. See you.